take a shot every time I said medical school. Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ebube Enweani and I am a third year medical student. It feels so good saying that. Like, if you know my journey into medical school, taking 2 gap years, doing a foundation year, moving countries, it has not been the easiest thing at all. So today's results day, and I just had a bright idea to film a video because I'm sure there's many people who just got their results. You're coming to Bristol to study medicine, you don't know what to expect, or you're starting medical school in like any university. I'm going to be giving you my top tips and things for you to ease your mind. Number 1, you're all on the same level. Don't get intimidated. When you start in a new environment, I think it's very easy to let yourself get intimidated by people that, let's say, are more confident than you are or are more outspoken. Sometimes these might be just their personalities, or sometimes these might be coping mechanisms. I don't know if you ever heard of the phrase, like, fake it till you make it. That is so true. So for example, if I'm in a new place and I'm shy, like I've got a lot of nerves, my reaction is to kind of like portray like a confident front. I know what I'm doing. I've got my stuff together, because I believe that if you portray that, right, people see it and they kind of treat you like you've got your stuff together. So it kind of works well for you. Again, if you are kind of nervous on the shy side and you see this, you might feel intimidated. I'm already falling behind and it's day 1. It is literally day 1. There's no way you are falling behind. Fair enough, there might be people that, like me, that did a foundation year. So for example, when it comes to where things are in campus, I already knew that before I started, but that's about it. Everyone is fresh. No one really has a friendship group. Everyone is open to making friends. Granted that there might be 1 or 2 people that knew themselves before coming, but it is literally a clean canvas. So I would encourage you to treat it that way. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Everyone is literally finding their feet. The timetable in first term kind of takes into account that you are new to the city. You might be new to the course. You're still adjusting, finding friends. So I believe everything is kind of slowed down compared to when you come back in January. So don't let anyone make you feel like you're falling behind, because trust me, you're not. Everything might seem grand, but in actuality, if you take it like bit by bit, everything will become easier to digest. My second tip is something I'm very passionate about because it happens all the time, and that is fear mongering in medical school. I have a lot of older medical school friends and a lot of them just graduated. So when I started medical school, I was like 2-3 years behind the people that I went to sixth form with. That means that I would always ask them for advice. I want you to develop the ability to differentiate between advice and projecting. So I found that when I would ask people in the older years, advice about how they found my current year or a certain thing, sometimes they would just project their fears onto me instead of giving me a very unbiased view about the thing. Then again, you can only know as much as you experience, because that's their experience at the end of the day. You need to differentiate between, oh my God, this person just had a hard time, from this is just hard. Does that make sense? And I feel like this is a skill that you have to develop over time. For example, someone might tell you something, you go and do it yourself, and you find that, okay, it wasn't that hard. So you might take everything else they tell you with a pinch of salt. My main point is just for you to experience things by yourself. Honestly, medical school is hard, but then again, that's like every other thing you set your mind to do. Nothing good comes easy, right? Even if you were studying any course in the world, whatever you were doing, it has to have a certain level of difficulty to produce a certain level of result. And I feel like it's the same thing with medical school. Yes, it's, a bit tough. Yes, the content is a lot, but my motto is that it is doable. The people above you did it, so you can do it. It's very achievable. You might have to find a certain way to do things, to go about things, but everything is very achievable. So when people project their fears onto you about how they found like a previous academic year, kind of take it with a pinch of salt, When you hear like many views about something, you can kind of like pick out what the general consensus is and what that person maybe just found difficult by themselves. I hope that makes sense. My third one is about anatomy. I feel like everyone comes to university fearing anatomy. And my tip for you for anatomy is that it will all make sense. So in first term in my uni, right, we had anatomy sessions every week. And honestly, for the first like 6 sessions, which was like for the first like 6 weeks, so like 4 to 6 weeks, everything, it just sounded like a bunch of garbage, honestly. And eventually, everything will start making sense. So in the beginning, you're kind of like learning things in isolation, and you have to learn them in isolation. So when you progress, you're able to connect the dots, if that makes sense. Everything gels together, everything molds together very well. So don't kind of get stressed prematurely. I feel like my main theme for this video will be don't get stressed, because it's so easy to get stressed. Even when you talk to people for the first time, maybe like non-medical friends, you can tell them, oh, I'm studying medicine, and like their automatic reply is like, oh my god, wow, you must be so brave. Oh my god, wow, I could never. Already it's making you feel like, wow, you're taking on the hardest thing in the world. But like I said before, everything is difficult. It just depends how you go about it. It just depends how you find it yourself. So baseline for anatomy, don't go in there feeling like you're about to learn the hardest thing in the world. Anatomy is actually very interesting. I had a lot of friends that loved it, not me though, but I had a lot of friends that loved it. And you might like a certain part, you might not like a certain part, but all the knowledge will become cohesive in time. So if you don't understand a certain bit, be rest assured that eventually it will all make sense. This tip is Bristol specific. I'm not sure about other medical schools, but when you start learning anatomy, they give you like a booklet to fill. My advice to you will be to fill in that workbook. So the idea is that you fill in, maybe, because we had our sessions either Monday or Tuesday. So let's say my session was on Monday, right? Spend like Friday evening filling in the book, you know, looking at the pre-learning material, because I can tell you confidently that anatomy made me cry on 2 occasions. Why? Because I just did not do my pre-work. When you come into the lab, yes, everything is fresh to everyone, but if you did your pre-work, you might like have picked up on 1 or 2 things, so it doesn't all sound like brand new. So please, please, please fill in your workbook. You'll feel so frazzled if you don't do your pre-work, and that's not a good feeling, because you kind of feel a bit fearful, especially because there are those that would have done it, right? And they would have gone above and beyond. So you're sat there feeling like, wow, like I must be a failure. I'm not joking. So many times I felt like, oh my god, it would be like you're already falling behind. And it's so easy to have that falling behind mentality, especially if you're around people that just do things above the baseline. And that's okay to do things above the baseline, but at least make sure that you're at the baseline so everything doesn't feel a bit too much for you. My next tip will be to stay on top of your work. I believe that university is a measure of how behind you are. The only time you're not behind is on the first day. I kid you not. Once you've had the first lecture, the first set of lectures, the first week, you're automatically behind. The trick is to make sure you're not too behind so that you can actually like breathe and have time for yourself. At some point, you might fall like really, really behind, and then that can make you realize, okay, wow, next time I'm not gonna fall this behind. I'm gonna stay on top. I'm not saying don't have time for yourself. I'm not saying, you know, don't like have a breather or have like hobbies or relaxation, because you need hobbies. Do you remember in your interview or when you were applying and they made sure you had like extracurriculars? Trust me, you need those extracurriculars. You need something to, you know, take your mind off your academic work, because it can get a lot sometimes. And this is not medicine specific. This is a bit basically everything. It can just get a lot. It can just get overwhelming. So you need to find the balance from like staying on top of your work and not drowning from having too much work you haven't done. My next tip is a theme that will be common throughout your years at medical school. You will be busier than some of your friends, and that's okay. I remember coming back after Christmas, and I believe we resumed January the 5th or something. And then I was like, okay, like my mind didn't really register that that was early, but I was like, okay, fine, it's when we're coming back to school, that's fine, right? So I think it was like ending of January, and I was talking to some girl on campus, and she was like, oh yeah, you know, I just got back. Uni just started. And I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me I've had 4 weeks of learning, yeah, coupled with placement, and my girl is just coming back from Christmas holiday. So sometimes I feel like it's easy to kind of feel like, oh my god, I have the most work, especially if you don't have a lot of medical friends. For me, I've moved houses now, but I lived with a medical student and a dental student and some 2 other girls. So sometimes when life just got hard, we would converge in someone's room and just cry. So which is so crazy. But we did this all the time. We would just like cry, lament about like how hard everything is, and you need that. Trust me, you need that at some point. So my tip to you would be, don't feel bad when your other friends could, like maybe your non-medical friends could go out and do certain things, and then you've got to do your work. It's okay. And you know, sometimes, you know, it's exam season and you actually don't have the time to do certain things, and that's okay. You have applied for this course, you have worked hard, and I believe it's like a lifelong process of working hard. Again, not to your detriment, but it's okay if your friends have more free time than you. If you feel like you keep feeling sad about it, then, you know, maybe make more medical friends and do things with your friends that are in medical school when you guys are free at the same time. Honestly, it's very okay. It's actually good to have friends that are non-medical, because it's not every day you're chatting about what they spoke in lectures. Like, come on, please, let's, you know, have some variety. Another tip is don't be too bothered about study methods, right? I've spoken to people in first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and everyone is kind of still refining their study methods. It's okay if your study method changes from like first year to second year to third year. And I feel like it's supposed to, because you're learning new content. You're meant to remember this content in different ways. So don't get too stressed about, I don't know how to study, I don't know how to do this. You will learn with time. And I feel like study methods is a thing of practice makes perfect. I will make another video on this, maybe on my YouTube, maybe on my TikTok, but really don't get too bothered about it. The main thing is just to start. And honestly, for first and second year, especially in Bristol, all the information is in your lectures, babes. So if you're the type that crams, I'm not saying cram, you know, I'm not saying it's a good method, but if you're the type that crams, you will have a good time. You have a good time because all the information is in your lectures. If you can kind of like understand information, retain information, apply information, you're good. Honestly, you're sweet. My final tip would be enjoy your time at medical school. I started medical school wanting to finish. I know that sounds crazy, right? But I had taken 2 gap years. I had done a foundation year. And when it came to first year starting, I was like, are you telling me the journey, right, is literally just starting? I wanted to finish. I wanted to get to 5th year like yesterday and just get it over and done with. But I feel like if you have that kind of mindset, you kind of lose out on the fun of it. It's actually fun, right? Med students, you will come to find out, know how to have the most fun. And maybe that's because, you know, the day-to-day is a bit stressful. So when they have fun, right? Kind of slow down, enjoy yourself. Don't prematurely stress yourself, because trust me, the least stressful day in medical school is the day you are in. It will never be as easy as first year. It will never be as easy as second year. It will never be as easy as third year. As you progress, it gets harder. So if you start stressing yourself prematurely from day dot, right? Imagine how it's going to be when you keep climbing the ranks and you keep getting to the higher years. You're going to be already burnt out. Not saying that you will not get burnt out at some point, but push it back. Don't grab it before it's time, if that makes sense. And I'm not encouraging burnout anyway. Do not burn out. You just have to cool down. You have to like take each day as it counts, because it's a nice journey. It's an amazing journey. You get a lot of opportunities, right, by virtue of the fact that you're a medical student. Minus the social clout. And yes, social clout, because I'm talking to somebody and I tell them I study medicine, and then I see like their demeanor change. I see, you know, their perception of me change in real time. Like, it's crazy, right? So that's like, I don't know, a bonus. Depends on what you want to do with that exactly. It's a bonus. When you're applying to certain jobs, maybe part-time jobs, maybe summer jobs, internships, the fact that you're a medical student, I feel like as a society, they can appreciate how much time and effort it takes to do this in the first place. So you kind of like are rewarded with that in a sense. So honestly, the opportunities are endless. Don't take it for granted, and don't kind of like box yourself too much into your academics that you don't actually enjoy the extracurricular. There's a lot to do, there's a lot to see. Trust me, you will have a great time. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helps at least one person. If you have any questions, my Instagram is in the description box, so you can message me. I'm like always on my phone, so I will reply. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Bye.